Welcome back to this lecture, guys. In this lecture is our second lecture on the variables. So I had already discussed a variable is a name which is associated with a value that can be changed. For example, when I write integer I which is equal to 10, here variable name is I which is associated with the value of 10. Int is a data type that represents that this variable can hold integers values. We will cover the data types in the next tutorial. So in this lecture, we will discuss only about the variables. So first of all, how to declare a variable in Java. So first you can define the data type and then the variable and name. So then you can define the value of the it. Here the value is optional because in Java you can declare the variable first and then later assign the value to it. For example, here the number is a value variable and int is a data type. We will discuss the data type in the next lecture, so do not worry too much about it. Just understand that int data types allow this number variable to hold the integer value. So now we just go to the example of this variables. So here you can see we have the character which is a ch. So this is our variable and then we have the character value which is a. Integer which is our data type what we have like an int or a character and then we have the variable name which is number and number which is equal to 10. So variables naming conventions in the Java. Variables naming cannot contain the white spaces. For example, int number is beer which is equal to 100 is an invalid because the variable name is spaced in it. So you can see int number and beer which is equal to 100. So it will give us the error here. Variable name can be with a special character such as dollar and underscore. So you can write variable dollar which is equal to 10. So variable name can be can begin with special characters. As per the Java coding standard, the variable name should begin a lowercase letter, for example, integer number, like this one. For lengthy variables name that has more than one values, do it like this integer and you can see a small number. It So now we can see the in big number which is start the second word with the capital letter. Like here I just write big and then here I just write number. So it is start with the second word with the capital letter. Variables name are the case sensitive in Java. Remember that variables name are case sensitive. Like you can define the variable here big and then when you create a class or you can create an object and you can recall your variable name. So I just write big and then here I just write number, so it will give us the error because we have not valid name here. So it's a case sensitive language. Now we just go to the types of the variables. The types of the different variables in the Java. So there are three types of variables in the Java. First one is a local variable, then second one is a static or a class variable, and then the last one is an instance variable. So first we just discuss the static variable. A static variable is a common to all the instance or object of the class because it is the class level variable. In other words, you can say that only a single copy of the static variable is created and shared among all the instances of the class. Memory allocated for such variables only happens when the class is loaded in the memory. Now we just see the syntax of these static variables. So here we have static and the static is the name or a keyword here, and then here I just write the data type, then the variable and the variable name. So this is the simple syntax of this static variable. As I mentioned about, the static variables are shares among all the instances of the class. They are useful when we need to do memory management. In some cases, we want to have a common value of all the instances, like global variables. Then it is much better to declare them static, as this can save memory because only single copy is created for static variables. Now we just see the example of this static variable. So here I just remove this, and now I just write static, and static int is count, which is equal to 0. Now I just write public, and public is a void and increment. So now it is public void increment, and then I just write count plus plus. Now I just close with the semicolon here, and then here I just define public, static, and void main. So void main is a string, and a string here, and then I just write argument. Now I just write variable, and it's in variable here, and variable which is demo, and then here I just write object number 1. So I just create an object which is a value of 1, and then here I just write new, and use a keyword here, and then I just write variable demo. So here I just write capital V. So variable is demo here. Now I just write variable which is demo, and then object number 2 here, and which is equal to new and variable demo, and then close this code here. Now I just create an object to it. So here I just write obj1 dot, I just call my increment function here, and it's increment, and then I just write object 1, so it's object 2 dot increment, and then I just print the value system dot out dot print line, and which is object 1, which is the count, and its count is equal to concatenation of object 1 dot count. Now I just write an object here. Now I just write system dot out dot print line, and here I just write object 2, and object 2 is count here, and count which is equal to plus object 2 dot count. So I just leave an error here because you can see we are just working with the static variables which work on the class. So we have the class name here is variable data type 2. So I just copy this one and replace with this one because we have the upper class with the variable and its data type 2 is our class name, but I write the variable demo here, so it will give us the error here. So that's why I'm just changing my this name. So remember that this is a Java programming language and it is a case sensitive language. Now we just see the output. So you can see we have the object 1, which is a count 2, and the object 2 is also a count 2, because in this example with both the objects are sharing a same copy of the static variable. That's why they display the same value of count. Now we just see the instance variable in the Java. Instance variable used by object to store their states. Variables which are defined without the static keyword and are outside any method declaration are object specific and are known as instance variable. They are called so because their values are instance specific and not shared amongst the instance. So now we just come to the example of this instance variable. So here I just write a string, which is my instance. Okay, and instance is variable here, which is equal to instance and variable. Now I just close this code here, and then I just write public static void main, and then string arguments, and here I just write my code. So now, so I just remove this curly bracket, and now here I just write instance, and now I just write the variable data type 3, which is my class name, and then object, which is equal to new variable data type 3, and close this code here. Now I just create one another object, which is the object number 2. So this is the object here, and then I just write new, which is our variable data type 3, and then close this code here, and then I just write object number 3, which is equal to new data type 3, and close this code here. Now I just write system.out.println, and which is object number 1, which is my instance variable, and then so it's need an extension, so I just close this one, and then I just write system.out.println, and println is object number 2 dot my instance variable, and then system.out.println, and then I just write object 3 dot my instance variable. Now I just write object number 2 dot my instance variable, which is equal to changed text. Okay, and then I just write system.out.println, which is object dot my instance variable, and then system.out.println, which is object number 2 dot my instance variable. Then at the last I just write system.out.println, and here the print line, which is equal to object 3 dot my instance variable. So you can also use the print for it. So now we just check the output for this example. So you can see first one is the instance variable, then the instance variable and the instance variable 3 times, then instance variable, so change the text here, and then the instance variable. So we change the instance variable value using the object to in the following program. And when we display the variable using all three objects, only the object 2 value got changed. Other remains unchanged. This shows that they have their own copy of instance variable. So we have some rules for the instance variable. First one, they can be marked final. They can be marked transient. They cannot be marked abstract. And they cannot be marked synchronized. They cannot be marked strict FP. And they cannot be marked native. And at the last, they cannot be marked static. So now we just go to the local variables. These variables are declared inside the method of the class. Their scopes is limited to the method, which means that you cannot change their value and access them outside the method. Now we just see the example of this local variable. So here I just write public, and public is a string variable. So I just write my variable, which is equal to, I just write instance variable here. Now I just write public method, and here the public void my method. And then I just define the local variable. So string, which is my variable, which is equal to inside method, and then I just write system and system dot out dot print, and the print line is my variable. So this is our local variable. Now we just going to create an object. So here I just write public static void and main, and here I just write string and arguments. So now I just write, now we just create an object. So variable, so I just copy this class name. So variable data type 4, which is the obj, which is equal to new. So this is the class name, and then the object, which is equal to new, and the variable, sorry, class name. So we are calling, now we are calling the method that's changed the value for my variable. We are displaying my variable again after the method call to demonstrate that the local variable scope is limited to the method itself. Now you can see system dot out dot print line, and then here I just write calling method, and then here I just create object, and it's double quotation here, and then object dot my method, and then system dot out dot print line, which is object dot my variable. So I have declared in this example the instance variable with the same name as a local variable. This is to demonstrate the scope of the local variables. Now just check the output of this example. So you can see calling a method inside the method. So first of all, I just call the method name inside the method. You can see here, and then it's print the instance variable. So you can see the calling method like this one. It's an object here, and then it's print the local variable, and then it's print the instance variable. So this is an example of the Java static, instance variable, and local variable. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture.